Welcome back, folks. Dow Industrials finished down 106, NASDAQ off 17, S&P's off 9.5. Let's go over to our man, Mr. Jim Prince, as we do each and every Wednesday at 20 past the second hour. And, folks, you can visit Jim every trading day. His website, Greatest Business on Earth, gbemembers.com. Check it out. Good-looking guy sitting there in his little thing. What's happening, brother?
Hey, how are you today, Tom?
Good, man. Yourself?
Excellent, excellent.
Good. So we get Fed Day. We get some nice volatility inside the marketplace.
Yeah, I sent over a couple of currencies I thought maybe we could take a look at today.
Absolutely. And, where do you want to start?
Let's start out with the December Australian dollar.
Perfect. Okay.
And yeah, so you can see how it here today. This is a daily chart that I sent over. It reached up to that resistance line, also my 50-period moving average there on the chart, and then really reversed later in the day. And so basically touch resistance there, and now I'm anticipating that we're going to push lower here. So that right circle of an inverted head and shoulder pattern that I have there.
Yes.
I think price is going to move into that based on my indicators here. And so I'm going to still look for this inverted head and shoulder pattern to perhaps form, but do it at a little bit lower price level.
Yeah, that'd be kind of nice after a big downtrend, huh?
Yeah, for sure. And really watching that, you can clearly see you're absolutely right. Really, since last spring, I think is when the trend really started to go down. I kind of based that off my 50 SMA there, where it kind of rolled over in April.
Yes.
And
yeah. Boy, you know, it's interesting when you can catch a trend, man. You know, I mean, that's where I'm sure the trend is your friend came, because when you get long trends, man, you know, you never know when they break. They can chop around and come right back on the other side. But this broke a long time ago, and you've been in the money since then, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you never know when you're on a trend when you might be part of a super trend on top of that.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah. Next, we got
how about the New Zealand dollar, U.S. dollar?
Okay, I think I did that one. Yep.
Yeah, we looked at this last week. I sent this over, and at the time we had that bluish ellipse there, and I was talking about on the show last week that I anticipated price would move up into that, and it did, and it touched that resistance zone above.
Oh,
and now
yeah.
I'm looking at, and you can see my little indicator there right below the blue and red line.
Yes.
It's kind of formed a double top, and I take that pretty seriously because momentum could reverse here. And so I anticipate here that price could push a bit lower, maybe even come down and test that green zone here on this chart.
And that kind of looks like the Australian dollar, I mean the New Zealand dollar too, doesn't it?
Yeah, so like the Australian dollar that we just reviewed, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Very similar to that.
Okay, so next.
Yeah, so I thought we'd do something a little bit different here today. I sent over a futures spread chart for coffee.
Beautiful.
And,
okay, I got it.
Yeah, so, and if you're, just in case your viewers aren't familiar with spreads, basically what we're doing is we're buying one contract and selling the other one simultaneously, and we trade the difference in price here. And so the difference in price, this is the March contract versus the July contract of coffee for next year, and it's in a base right now. And one of the things I really like about this, rather than having to put up a couple $1,000s in margin for the futures contract,
yes,
you can trade the spreads. The margin on this right now is about $82 per spread.
Really?
So, yeah, so you can get a lot of leverage with that. You still have the same risk per contract, but the leverage there can be pretty substantial. Wow. Especially when these begin to trend, and many times they do trend. A move from here, for instance, from like minus 450 to minus 400, that's about $375 per spread.
Yeah.
It takes some movement, but this is a seasonal spread. It typically begins to start to move in the early part of October out to the middle part of February. It's a seasonal spread that we track.
Now, when you trade a spread, right, like this, do you have to close that on two different transactions, or can you close the spread together?
Yeah, so we do them simultaneously, but you do have a commission on either side of that.
Okay.
And so because the March contract expires before the July contract, we'll need to be out of that sometime in February before
sure.
first notice.
Now, can you hit one button and be out of both of them, though?
Yeah, some trading platforms allow you to do that.
Cool.
You bet.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's cool. I've done a lot of different ones, and it's always intriguing because years ago you couldn't get out of that. And once they start getting those spreads that you can get out in one button, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, you used to have to leg out of them.
Yeah.
That was
And what happens there, folks, when you leg out of them, right? Like, I always want to leg out of my winner first, and then I'm looking at the other one saying, oh, am I going to leg out? What am I going to do? Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
Okay, so what's next?
So I think the last one we should look at here today is let's take a look at cocoa and start out with the cocoa 10-year adjusted chart.
Okay.
And this is another version of our seasonals. Again, we'll just kind of look at the blue line here.
Yeah.
And we adjust the futures contract through some different math. But the bottom line is here, the trend is down into the end of the year. And that's really the focus here. Trend is down over the last 10 years. This is the historical tendency. So with that in mind, if we pull up the December cocoa chart, the futures chart.
Okay.
And you'll see here that with that, today, the December contract down about 2% on the button here. And we talked about this a few weeks back, but now it's broken through a couple of layers of support here, actually at the bottom of my support zone, and just cracked the trend line support level as well. So I'm anticipating a move further down through that blue ellipse area that I have there, have that filled in.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, I wonder why that, it is what it is, but when cocoa is taking quite a hit, man. Almost from 3,000 a ton, 2,900 a ton to what, 2,151.
Yeah, big move for sure. And this market can catch fire very, very quickly in the different directions. You can just see the different little trends on this chart just on their own.
Yeah, and so buying those beans at the right price would be pretty cool.
Yeah, yes, it would.
Wow, that's so coming into the, let's see. So I guess, you really just kind of think of cocoa as like holiday season and Valentine's, but I bet they sell a lot of cocoa during Valentine's Day, right? Makes sense, right?
I think they do, yes. It tends to go up after it bottoms out here at the end of the year, and I think you're onto something there.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you get the seasonal coming down. Man, that cocoa chart is something else. And cocoa, but it's sub-Africa. That's where most of that comes from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to.
So you can, if you can, just the adjusted cocoa chart, you can see how after it bottoms in December or hits that low in December, it does indeed rally right into February. So right in line with your Valentine's.
That's pretty wild, man.
Yeah.
I wish it was that easy, right?
Yes.
It's funny though, looking at that, right? That's pretty cool, man. Yeah. Because the reality is that that's something you could actually scale into too, right?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things is we never trade those on their own. We always combine with technicals on the chart, on the futures charts as well.
Sure. No, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Well, it's going to be intriguing here watching the good old Fed. The bottom line is that, the Fed goes up, but the bottom line is that people are buying bonds again. Pretty cool. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, it's always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you and hearing from you next Wednesday.
All right, partner. Take care. Have a good one.
Thanks, Jim. That's our man, Mr. Jim Prince, folks, from GBEmembers.com. Come right back.